The year is 1931 across British Mandate Palestine. Rising regional tensions and escalating security threats pushed the Jewish underground to a critical breaking point regarding defensive strategy. For years, the mainstream Haganah enforced a strict doctrine of havlaga, meaning absolute restraint. Leaders insisted that community defense must never cross into proactive retaliation against local attacks. Many underground fighters grew deeply frustrated by this passive approach. They watched communities suffer repeated violence while their leadership forbade any decisive counteroffensives or active deterrence operations. Secret meetings began taking place behind closed doors in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. Dissenters whispered about breaking away to form a new faction dedicated entirely to uncompromising military retaliation. This ideological rift exposed a fundamental disagreement over survival tactics. Was patient restraint the path to statehood? Or would aggressive retaliation prove the only effective language of power? Defying direct orders from the central command structure, commanders and fighters decided they could no longer wait. They gathered their supporters to plan an unprecedented split within the underground. In 1931, the breakaway faction officially established their own independent organization. They named it the Irgun Tzvai Lumi, quickly becoming widely known simply as the Etzel. The Etzel rejected the passive posture of the past. Their core philosophy was explicit and uncompromising. Active retaliation against aggressors was essential to secure Jewish dignity and territory. This dramatic schism sent shockwaves through the entire Zionist movement. Fighters had to choose loyalties, splitting friends, comrades, and even family members across opposing ideological lines. Mainstream leadership condemned the breakaway group as dangerous splinter elements. They warned that independent military action would invite harsh British crackdowns and jeopardize fragile diplomatic efforts. Undeterred by institutional backlash, Etzel founders began building secret cells from scratch. They recruited fiercely loyal members willing to take extreme personal risks for the new militant cause. Operating in deep secrecy required an intricate network of clandestine safe houses. Basements, backrooms, and remote agricultural sheds became the hidden hubs of the nascent underground militia. Without official funding or institutional support, the Etzel had to improvise supply lines. Members pooled personal savings and scavenged whatever equipment they could find to sustain operations. Training sessions were conducted under the cover of night in secluded orchards. Recruits learned basic field tactics, clandestine communication, and the mechanics of urban defense operations. The founding members shared an intense, unyielding camaraderie. They believed history would vindicate their aggressive stance, and that only relentless strength would protect the Jewish population. British intelligence quickly took note of the new radical splinter group. Authorities increased patrols and set up checkpoints, searching for unauthorized weapons and subversive literature. To evade detection, the Etzel relied on a sophisticated system of dead drops and coded messages passed through trusted couriers across different cities. Intellectuals within the group drafted a foundational manifesto. It articulated the core belief that self-defense was insufficient without proactive military offense. While the Haganah preached patience and integration into broader Zionist institutions, the Etzel championed immediate military action and total independence from British authority. Acquiring firearms was a constant, dangerous struggle. Smuggling networks brought hidden pistols and ammunition across borders, concealing them inside everyday cargo. By late 1931, the Etzel had established active cells in major urban centers. Young volunteers and disillusioned former Haganah members swelled their ranks daily. Heated debates persisted over the exact limits of retaliation. Some commanders urged restraint against civilian targets, while others argued that total war required abandoning conventional rules. Maintaining an underground militia strained meager financial resources. Leaders solicited donations from sympathetic merchants and wealthy benefactors who believed in the militant vision. The constant shadow of British arrest hung over every operative. Counterintelligence units watched known dissidents, forcing underground members to master the art of disguise and evasion. Creating a distinct organizational identity was vital for morale. The Etzel adopted independent insignia, secret passwords, and rigorous codes of conduct for all members. A war of words raged across newspapers and secret leaflets. both the Haganah and the Etzel fought fiercely for the ideological allegiance of the broader Jewish community in Palestine. Disagreements over operational targets created friction even within the Etzel leadership. Some advocated for targeting British authorities directly, while others prioritized defending Jewish neighborhoods from Arab attacks. Living underground meant constant paranoia and fractured personal lives. Operatives cut ties with families and lived under assumed names to protect their loved ones from retaliation. British police raids on suspected Etzel safe houses became increasingly frequent, resulting in skirmishes, arrests, and the seizure of precious underground stockpiles. Despite arrests and severe setbacks, the Etzel adapted its operational structure. Cells were decentralized so that the capture of one member would not compromise the entire network. The emergence of the Etzel marked a profound psychological shift in the Yishuv. Violence was no longer viewed merely as a tragic necessity, but as a deliberate political instrument. Mainstream Zionist leaders warned that abandoning moral restraint would corrupt the soul of the national movement. They argued that brutality would destroy international sympathy for their cause. Etzel members dismissed these moral warnings as naive idealism. They maintained that survival in a hostile region required absolute readiness to meet violence with equal or greater force. By the end of 1931, the Etzel had transitioned from a loose faction into an organized underground militia with regional commanders, secure supply chains, and dedicated fighters. The split was now irreversible. Two distinct military philosophies now competed for dominance within the Jewish community, each claiming to hold the true key to future liberation. The institutional fracture deepened as the Haganah and the Etzel established separate recruitment drives, training camps, and intelligence networks across the country, operating in mutual distrust. New recruits to the Etzel were sworn in during secretive nighttime initiation ceremonies. Initiates pledged absolute obedience to the command and unwavering commitment to armed retaliation. Information became the lifeblood of the new organization. Operatives gathered intelligence on British troop movements, police patrols, and hostile elements throughout the territory. With training intensified and supplies secured, the Etzel prepared to take its first independent military actions, stepping out of the shadows and onto the pages of history. This fateful split in 1931 created a permanent fracture in the pre-state underground, setting the stage for decades of intense ideological and political rivalry. Two distinct visions now vied for the future of the land. One path promised patience and diplomatic state building, while the other demanded aggressive force and unyielding retaliation. The consequences of the 1931 schism would reverberate through every major conflict, political debate, and security crisis leading up to the creation of the state. The founding of the Etzel established a permanent militant alternative to mainstream Zionism, proving that a dedicated minority could radically alter the course of national history. Decades later, the fierce debates sparked in those smoke-filled backrooms of 1931 continue to define discussions on statecraft, security, and military strategy. The founders of the Etzel placed everything on the line for their convictions. Their radical departure from restraint changed the underground forever and forged a new warrior ethos. From a small group of disgruntled dissidents in 1931, the Etzel grew into a formidable force that would shape the destiny of an entire nation through unyielding armed struggle. The doctrine of retaliation championed by the Etzel permanently altered the security mindset of the region, ensuring that military strength remained central to national survival. They believed that waiting for permission or international approval was a recipe for destruction. Only proactive force could deter enemies and guarantee the safety of the Jewish people. The underground cells formed in 1931 laid the organizational groundwork for all future militant operations, proving that discipline and secrecy were paramount. Though both the Haganah and the Etzel shared the ultimate goal of a Jewish homeland, their irreconcilable methods created a deep rift that defined pre-state's politics for decades. Every member who joined the breakaway movement carried the heavy weight of defying the mainstream leadership, knowing there was no turning back from their chosen path. The founding of the Etzel in 1931 remains one of the most consequential turning points in modern Jewish history, born from sheer frustration and fierce determination. By rejecting passive restraint and embracing armed retaliation, the founders of the Etzel set a radical new precedent that forever changed the military landscape of the Middle East. The ideological fracture of 1931 proved that the fight for the land would not be fought with words alone, but forged through blood, grit, and unyielding defiance. The bitter split between the Haganah and the Etzel established two opposing philosophies of resistance that would battle for supremacy across the turbulent decades ahead. Looking back across the decades, the events of 1931 reveal how a small, radical faction transformed underground warfare and left an indelible mark on history. The Etzel's defiant creation proved that desperation can breed formidable military strength, permanently reshaping the destiny of the Jewish underground and the fight for the land. As history delivered its verdict, the 1931 schism stood as the definitive moment when the underground chose retaliation over restraint, changing the Middle East forever. The founding of the Etzel in 1931 remains a stark reminder that ideological fractures in times of crisis can forge powerful movements that alter nations for generations. From secret meetings in cramped cellars to open ideological warfare, the legacy of the Etzel's birth continues to echo through the complex history of the modern Middle East. If you want to uncover more hidden chapters of underground history, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video to support our historical documentary series.